Hey, this is Deepesh, and this is the first part of the 3N ads formula. And I'm going to take you through N1, which is stopping the scroll. So in this video, I'm going to give you some examples of how to stop that scroll and how to be thinking differently about the newsfeed as well. Let me just show you this video here, which is actually a video of the London Underground. So it's a typical escalator system. And if you notice, there are ads all the way up the side as I'm going up the elevator. This is how the newsfeed comes across. What I want you to be thinking about is, are any of these ads standing out? What's going to actually take your interest there? And if I just show you this second one here, you have to look for the things that are going to pop out of that wall. What is it? Is it color? Is it design? Is it a face? Is it persistence? You've got a number of red ads here. You're seeing them more and more and more. Maybe that's going to take your interest. So that's one of the key parts of the newsfeed, is thinking about how you can actually get someone to take notice and to stop the scroll. That is so important. So familiarity, if you've got a product like McDonald's here, then that will help. Having a brand is super powerful. But if you don't have a brand, then you need to be thinking differently as well. So I'm going to take you through some examples here of how to get your ad to stand out, essentially. So the first one, and probably the most simplest, is to pop that ad. And what that actually means is to create a way of getting your ad to stand out. So this example that I've taken, on the left-hand side, this particular ad is fairly whitewash. It looks nice. I can imagine a designer came up with this idea and said, let's just do nice and white background, etc. The problem with something like this is that it does not stand out in the newsfeed. And if it does not stand out in the newsfeed, it doesn't get noticed. Now, it's not to say that, you need to go all Technicolor and mash up all your colors and the pinks and yellows and things like that. But there's a subtle thing that you can do, which is just to pop out the color. So the image on the right, I've taken that same ad and just added some color tone. Now, all of a sudden, if you imagine both of those ads coming down your newsfeed, one may just take your eye more than the other. The colors are slightly unnatural, which is another technique as well, because it's not normal. If you think about your newsfeed, if you're scrolling through and you're used to seeing particular brands or things like that, you end up scrolling past. And this is a technique that you can use to just get people to take notice. So it's not something to just plaster across every single ad, but it's a technique to put into your armory as well. The second one is to use your product in a way that pops out as well. So for this particular ad, they've chosen a range of colors, and that really helps to pop out the newsfeed. So if you can imagine on this ad here, if they didn't have the yellow from the bananas, it may have looked a bit bland actually. But what they've done is to use the yellow just to give a color contrast, which I think is a really cool way of helping that ad to pop out as well. This is a mattress brand here in the UK actually, and what they've done really well is to use that same technique as well, but to blend that right into the whole setup for this shoot. So they've chosen some colors, patterns, designs, etc. that are going to really stand out as well, and it really helps to take notice, especially with these guys. They were spending a lot of money on advertising. Their ads were absolutely everywhere, and therefore they had to try harder and harder to get you to take notice. So part of it was thinking of new creative concepts and videos and things like that. But in the same way, you need to get that scroll to stop. So how do you take people's eyes away from just looking at random pieces and to actually look at your ad as well? In this example, another technique is to actually think about using grayscale as well. So, it works really well for images that have people, maybe lifestyle shots, things like that. And again, it's just something different. Now, obviously, if everyone has started to do the same technique in the newsfeed, everyone's doing black and white, it wouldn't work. It works when you use it sparingly and you use it for the right shot as well. So this example on the left-hand side is a standard photo shoot for a fashion brand. On the right-hand side, all I've done is just to grayscale it. It's different, it's intriguing, gives a different perspective of the ad as well, and that's another technique to try out. The next one I want to show you is how to use cropping and spacing. So the image at the top, for me, that's a bad example of an ad. When you are creating something which is creating some dissidence, so it's not quite right. You just look at this ad and you think, where's his eyes? It's not a face. It's not normal. I don't like this. It's not helping my brain to flow the information and understand it, and that just creates friction where there doesn't need to be. So don't create more stress for the person looking at the ad than needs to be. Make it as easy on the eye as possible. So the J. Crew example on the right hand side, the reason I love this is because they've used the space so well here. So they haven't gone full in on this guy with his jacket and his shirt and jeans and showing the absolute detail, but they're helping it to pop out of the newsfeed just by using the empty space. So a big empty space in the newsfeed with someone right in the middle. Personally, I would have contrasted maybe the colors a bit stronger just to help him pop out. But if I was to see these two ads in my newsfeed, at least for me personally, I would react far better for the ad in the bottom right as well. The next one I wanted to show you is how you can kind of maybe look a bit unnatural in your ads as well. So this particular ad is very salesy. I don't like this kind of approach. It's a staged shot, obviously, who just stands there looking at the side with a fairly nice suit on, but clearly it's modeled, it's staged. If you go back to this one, the J. Crew guy, even the Menlo Club guy, they look fairly relaxed. The J. Crew guy, he could be in a studio as much as he could be somewhere else as well. But for this one, it looks a lot more staged. And one thing that I don't particularly like is putting necessarily offer messages in the image as well. In the kind of Black Friday 2014, if someone sees this in newsfeed, okay, if they're in market, great, but they might be turned off by the fact that it is a bit more promotional in the image as well. The other thing about using people is using smiling and happy people, making them look friendly and also relatable. So this could be one of your friends, for example. One of the interesting things about people in ads is looking at the viewer. What happens is you have no choice but to look at her eyes. I don't know if you've done it when you've just looked at this ad, but you're drawn to her eyes, and therefore you're going to look at her. Works perfectly for Warby Parker because they're selling glasses, but because she's looking at you, it just makes you draw your attention onto her eyes, and then you look at everything else around. The image on the right is slightly different. It's lifestyle. The eyes are covered up, and so you're not naturally drawn directly to her face. You're kind of looking a bit more around as well. So think about kind of how you're bringing people into your shots as well. And in this one here, one of the most important things right now on Facebook is video. But what people often miss out is the fact that the thumbnail is absolutely more important than the video itself, because without a strong thumbnail, you're not going to get people to stop the scroll. So thinking about what is it that you can actually put up in your thumbnail, and it doesn't have to be an exact shot from your video as well. So this example for Cadbury, they have taken a shot from the video, but it's a slightly interesting one because there's stuff which is either falling onto the cake or it's coming out of the cake, and you don't know, so you might just click it out of interest. So using thumbnails is extremely important to make sure that your creative is able to stop someone's scroll. And the final point I want to make in this section is to keep experimenting, but cycle your visuals more than your copy. I see lots of examples where people are testing lots and lots of copy, but if your creative is not getting people to stop in their scroll, in their newsfeed, then the copy is redundant, essentially. If you can't get the attention in the first place, you're not going to get people reading it. So in the kind of hierarchy of importance, get your visual absolutely right, and then get them to stop scrolling. So as a quick summary, the 3 sections of the 3N ads formula, we've covered off the first nudge, which is stop the scroll, and in the next video I'll be talking about engagement.